All right. This is a pretty amazing thing to say. And, you know, it reminds me because one of my producers said to me, I said, oh, you know what I'd really like? I'd like one day, just to be, Glenn's right, just one day, somebody taking a moment and saying, you know what, I think you had that one right. And they said, you know, that'll never happen. And I said, I know. They said, no, not for the reason you think. And I said, what do you mean? They said, every time that you're right on something, you always up the ante. I'm like, because we got to move on. It's this. This is all happening, and you know it. All the things I talked about when I was over at Fox are now happening. And George Soros is now upping the ante. And because George Soros is now saying all the things that we said over at Fox, we'll take that as verification because he knows he's on the inside. And what do? Today I up the ante. So this is the latest you can call me crazy for. Economic collapse, first to Europe, then to the U.S. and world. Global war, civil war unlike anything, hatred unlike anything we've seen probably since the 1930s, but this will be global. Let's take hate, because there's a lot here, including ignoring the problems. We've already seen the violence and violent rhetoric coming from Occupy Wall Street. They tried to say that about the Tea Party, but it's not there. It's not there. But Occupy Wall Street all around the world, it shows what kind of tinderbox we're living in. But let's take all of it slowly. Let's see if we can digest it all. Let me show you what made me say that hate is coming and that love is the answer. This is just from today. All this stuff is stuff that the rest of the media can't or won't put together for you. To them, these are all isolated stories, each one existing in their own hermetically sealed little universe. Look at that. How could global war come? How could civil war? That's crazy. Well, let's look around. We looked around, and this is Occupy APAC. This is the website. Do we have this here? Here it is, Occupy APAC. Wow. They posted a press release about occupying the APAC meeting coming up in D.C. in March. Pay attention to the anti-Jewish tone. By the way, you can't say that you're anti-Israeli. Anti-Israeli is just code language for anti-Jew or anti-Semite. And I'm not the one who said that. That's Dr. Martin Luther King. So look at the anti-Israeli, anti-Semitic words. Quote, AIPAC, the powerful pro-Israeli government lobby that distorts U.S. policy in the Middle East is a mandatory Occupy target. Next quote, Adbusters, the magazine that issued the initial visionary call for the takeover of Wall Street on September 17th, has declared, the time has come for the Occupy movement to demand an end to the occupation of Palestine. There is no occupation of Palestine. There's no Palestine. The Occupy APAC summit will be a long weekend of teach-ins, cultural performances, protests, and creative direct actions, and a sneak preview of the forthcoming film Roadmap to Apartheid, co-sponsored by the nation. The Institute of Policy Studies, which is the Communist Policy Studies in Washington, D.C., Code Pink, where have we seen them before, and Just Foreign Policy. The Saturday conference will feature educational panels on Iran, Palestine, the Arab uprisings, and the Occupy movement. Wait a minute, this sounds like this. The left loves to talk about code language, racial code, homophobic code, religious code, but they ignore the obvious code, the Marxist code of social justice and anti-Semitic code like this. It's disguised as well. No, we're not working together. I don't know what you're talking about. And anti-Israel? No. We just are anti-apartheid. Anti-Zionist. A couple of other notes about Occupy APAC and whoever's involved. Strangely, some George Soros-connected groups like Adbusters. Soros gave money to Tides. Tides gave money to Adbusters. That way he didn't really donate to Adbusters. The Institute of Policy Studies. who gets money from George Soros and his Open Society Institute. So it's not from him, it's just from his charity. And the movie Roadmap to Apartheid, this is not necessarily Soros related, but the movie claims that the apartheid that took place in South Africa is the same apartheid taking place in Israel. Okay, all right. I want to play just a little clip from the film. I warn you, some of the footage is graphic. You haven't seen propaganda like this since they were making movies in Germany. Watch.
For Jewish Israelis, the conflict centers on protecting a homeland created for the Jewish people in 1948.
Oh,
For
look, they're dancing.
Palestinians, it is about resisting decades of colonialism, expulsion,
This is crazy.
occupation, and apartheid. Most people identify apartheid with the grotesque system of control that existed in South Africa from 1948 to 1994, in which the white minority ruled over the black majority, stole their land, and deprived them of basic rights. It was a system reviled by the whole world, and it eventually crumbled under the combined pressure of internal resistance and international sanctions. Today, the word is back, and with it too is a growing global movement to end the Israeli form of apartheid.
This is so unbelievably agonizing. Do you know where apartheid is happening actually? It's happening in places like Jordan. If you came, your family came over, how many decades ago? And you came on your own free will because you took the side of the Arabs when the Arabs attacked Israel. You went to Jordan, you escaped, you went up to Jordan to wait. You cannot work, you cannot integrate into Jordan, you are a non-citizen. Just a balanced look at the evil Jews and what they're doing to the poor, innocent, picked-on Palestinians. The Middle East is a powder keg, and so is the rest of the world. The left is aligning worldwide against Israel. I have told you that anti-Semitism, xenophobia, religious bigotry, and racism, all the old hatreds of the 1930s, will be in fashion again, and they will sweep the world. It's amazing. There's a new study out now that shows that anti-Semitism is flourishing where? In Germany. The report, here it is, was published by a committee of experts appointed by German Parliament, and it shows that hatred for Jews starts at a very young age and is common now throughout German society. I warned of it. According to this report, German school children are already using the word Jew as an insult, and Jew is commonly heard as a curse word in the playground. Think that's a problem? Especially with a gigantic, flammable sort of immigrant like the Muslims in Europe, you think? Maybe? Not integrated at all? Local soccer leagues throughout Germany, anti-Semitic jeers aimed at Jewish teams are common, including Jews to the gas. There's my favorite, bring back Auschwitz. That's not bad, How about burn the synagogues? Those are actually chanted in Germany. About 1/5 of Germans agree with anti-Semitic statements such as Jews have too much power in business. Oh, wow, we have really grown. And you know the great thing is, we've learned, haven't we? We never forgot. No, we forgot, and we're repeating it again. Also, according to the report, the emergence of Muslim immigrants in Germany, a small portion of whom are Islamic extremists, are also likely contributing to the overall anti-Semitic climate in the country. No! In other news, in Gaza, a Palestinian human rights advocate was stabbed by a man after this guy wrote an op-ed piece criticizing Hamas and other terrorist groups and their use of civilians as human shields. So he said that's wrong. But then he was stabbed to death. But there's no hatred. No hatred. No hatred at all. And here's the biggest one. You have this, you have the Palestinian uprising, you have Brooklyn, the hatred that is happening in New York. You also have PC. This is one of the biggest problems that nobody will ever recognize. We've ignored the problems in our own country for so long, and we all know it. And we're all going to say, I want to just make it go away. Either make it go away, President Obama or President X, or people will take it into their own hands, and you'll have what's called the Bubba effect. The Bubba effect is something the military has been worried about for about 10 years, and that is, you know and I know the government is part of the problem. You know and I know those clowns in Washington have been ignoring things. You know and I know the shootings on our military base is not work-related. It's not work stress. It's Muslim extremism. You know it and I know it. There's a shooting. Somebody goes out, crazy guy, and he goes out and he sees a Muslim, and he shoots them. Now here's what happens. This is what the military is afraid of. They have to go arrest that guy because you can't just go shoot him. That's completely unconnected. You have no right to do that. What are you doing? So they send in the military, they send in all the cops, and the neighbors say, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. You're not arresting him. Sure, he was wrong about that. But you're not arresting him. You're going to have to arrest us because you people were part of the problem. That's called the Bubba effect. Ask anybody in the military who's kind of high up what it is. They'll tell you. It's an absolute possibility in this country, which leads to civil war. But why worry about it? You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about it. You just have to stay aware. You have to stay connected to people. You have to stay with like-minded people as much as you possibly... Did I tell you we moved down to Texas? That's completely unrelated. We have one more, control. We get to that next.